The coffee machine in Engineering Lab 7 made a sound that reminded Dr. Nadia Patel of a dying star, a long, drawn-out wheeze followed by an ominous silence. She stared at the ancient device, willing it to complete its one simple task. After 3 years on Deep Space Engineering Station Epsilon, she'd learned that even the smallest comforts of Earth took on monumental importance. "Doctor, your caffeine dependency continues to fascinate me," chirped Iris, the station's AI assistant. The holographic interface manifested as a swirling pattern of blue light, hovering near Nadia's workbench. "There are more efficient methods of maintaining optimal cognitive function. Iris, the day I start taking lifestyle advice from an algorithm is the day I hand in my engineer's license," Nadia retorted, finally coaxing a trickle of coffee from the machine. She took a sip and grimaced. "Though I'm starting to think this machine is trying to poison me." The relative peace of their morning routine was shattered by an alert that made both the coffee machine and Nadia's experimental quantum calibrator vibrate in sympathy. The entire lab filled with a pulsing amber light. "Priority alert," Iris announced, their usual casual tone replaced with something more urgent. "Unknown transmission detected from Sector 847 Gamma. Signal pattern indicates advanced civilization, technological distress beacon." Nadia was already moving, muscle memory from countless emergency drills taking over. "Put it through to my main display. And run a full spectrum analysis." The main screen flickered to life, revealing a sight that made Nadia catch her breath. The being on the screen appeared to be made of living crystal and light, its form shifting and flowing like liquid glass. When it spoke, its words were translated into English with an ethereal echo. "This is First Resonator Veil of the Luminarii Collective. We transmit with grave urgency. Our civilization faces imminent collapse. Our quantum stabilization cores are failing across all settlements. We require immediate assistance." Nadia leaned forward, her coffee forgotten. The Luminarii were legendary even in human space, a civilization so advanced that their technology bordered on magic. They were said to have transcended physical form, becoming beings of pure energy and thought. That they would request help from anyone, let alone a human station, was unprecedented. "This is Dr. Nadia Patel, Chief Engineer of Station Epsilon. Please transmit your technical specifications and failure analytics." The data that flooded her screens was beyond complex, quantum equations that seemed to fold in on themselves, energy patterns that defied conventional physics. But beneath the complexity, Nadia began to see patterns, and those patterns told a story that made her engineering instincts tingle. "Iris, what do you make of this?" she asked, highlighting a particular section of the data. "The Luminarii's quantum stabilization technology appears to be suffering from cascade failures across all nodes. Their attempts at correction are interesting. They seem to be adding more complexity to solve problems caused by complexity." Nadia nodded, a theory forming. "It's like they're trying to put out a fire with more fire." She addressed the screen again. "First Resonator Veil, how long have you been attempting to correct these failures?" "We have applied increasingly sophisticated solutions for approximately 3 of your Earth months. Each solution provides temporary stability before the degradation accelerates. We estimate total systems failure within 20 standard days. And if that happens, our entire species will lose cohesion. We will cease to exist." Nadia ran her hands through her curly hair, a habit that surfaced whenever she was deep in thought. The Luminarii had built their entire civilization on quantum technology so advanced it could maintain their very existence as energy beings. But now that same technology was failing, and their solution was to make it even more complex. "I need to see this firsthand," Nadia declared. "I can be there in dash." "Doctor," Iris interrupted, "station protocols require dash." "Iris, an entire civilization is about to collapse. Protocol can wait." She turned back to the screen. "First Resonator Veil, I'm coming to help. But I need you to understand something, my solutions might seem primitive by your standards. The crystalline being's form rippled in what might have been confusion. Our technological advancement exceeds yours by centuries. How could dash? Sometimes, Nadia interrupted, already gathering her tools, the simplest solution is the best one. And we humans? We're really good at simple solutions. As she hurried to prep the station's fastest shuttle, Nadia couldn't help but smile. She was about to either save an ancient civilization or make the biggest fool of herself in human history. Either way, it would be interesting. Iris, prep my engineering kit. And add something else to the manifest. What would that be, Doctor? Every roll of duct tape we have on this station. The AI's response carried a distinct note of resignation. I calculate a 73% probability that this mission will end in diplomatic incident. Only 73%. Nadia laughed, checking her toolkit one last time. You're getting optimistic in your old age, Iris. The shuttle's quantum drive hummed as it pushed through the fabric of space, carrying Nadia and Iris toward the Luminariae homeworld. Through the viewport, stars stretched into brilliant lines of light, their glow reminiscent of the crystalline beings they were racing to save. Final approach to the Luminariae central system, Iris announced, their holographic form flickering slightly from the quantum interference. Their degradation is worse than initially reported, Doctor. I'm detecting significant fluctuations in their planetary quantum field. Nadia studied the readings on her display, her expression growing more concerned with each passing moment. The Luminariae's home system was a marvel of engineering, entire planets transformed into quantum processors, their surfaces covered in crystalline structures that pulsed with energy. But now, those pulses were erratic, like a failing heartbeat. It's like watching a symphony fall apart, she muttered. Each instrument playing slightly out of tune until the whole thing becomes chaos. The shuttle was intercepted by what appeared to be a guard of honor, several Luminariae beings floating in space, their crystalline forms refracting starlight in mesmerizing patterns. They guided the small craft to a docking station that seemed to be made of pure light. As Nadia stepped out of her shuttle, the artificial gravity adjusting to match her Earth-normal preferences, she was struck by the stark contrast between her practical engineering jumpsuit and the ethereal environment around her. The Luminariae's architecture defied conventional physics, structures of light and energy that shifted and flowed like liquid crystal. First Resonator Vale met her personally, accompanied by several other Luminariae whose titles all contained words like quantum and harmonic. Their forms seemed less stable up close, occasionally flickering like bad holograms. Dr. Patel, Vale's translated voice carried tones of both hope and skepticism. We appreciate your quick response, though I must admit, our council remains uncertain about accepting help from a less advanced species. Nadia pulled out her tablet, already running diagnostics. Less advanced doesn't mean less capable. Sometimes it means we haven't overcomplicated things yet. She gestured to the flickering walls around them. Show me your primary stabilization core. The journey to the core took them through corridors that seemed to be crafted from solid light. Nadia noticed how the Luminariae's movements were becoming more labored, their crystalline forms requiring visible effort to maintain cohesion. Our entire civilization is built on quantum harmonics, explained another Luminariae, who had introduced herself as Deep Resonator Prism. Every aspect of our existence is maintained through quantum stabilization. When we evolved beyond physical form, you became dependent on the technology that freed you, Nadia finished, studying the readings on her tablet. And now that technology is failing because it's become too complex to maintain itself. They arrived at the central core, a massive chamber that housed what looked like a star made of crystal. Energy patterns danced across its surface in increasingly chaotic patterns, like a heart in fibrillation. Iris, are you seeing this? Nadia asked, her tablet struggling to process the quantum readings. Indeed, Doctor. The complexity of their systems has reached a critical point. Each attempted correction adds another layer of quantum entanglement, which in turn requires more corrections. It's a technological Ouroboros. Nadia approached the core, ignoring the concerned murmurs from the Luminarii Council members who had gathered to observe. She pulled out her old, reliable diagnostic scanner, a device that would have been considered ancient by Luminarii standards. "Your scanner cannot possibly comprehend the complexity of our systems," one of the council members stated, their tone carrying what sounded like pity. "That's exactly the point," Nadia replied, not looking up from her readings. "I'm not trying to understand the complexity. I'm looking for the underlying pattern. Sometimes you need to step back to see the whole picture." Her scanner beeped, and a smile spread across her face. "Just as I thought. Your quantum stabilization cores are suffering from harmonic resonance cascade. Each correction you've added is creating new resonance patterns that interfere with the original frequency." "We are aware of the harmonic disruptions," Vale responded. "Our solutions have focused on adding dampening algorithms to compensate for each new resonance pattern. Which creates more patterns that need dampening," Nadia finished. "You're trying to solve the problem at the quantum level, but the issue isn't quantum at all. It's structural." She turned to face the assembled Luminarii, her expression serious. "I can fix this, but you're not going to like how. What do you propose?" Prism asked, her form flickering more severely now. Nadia reached into her toolkit and pulled out a roll of duct tape. "Sometimes the most elegant solution is the least elegant solution. We're going to need to get physical." The Luminarii's collective horror at her primitive tool was almost palpable. Iris's holographic form rippled in what might have been suppressed amusement. "Doctor," Vale began, their voice strained, "surely you don't intend to use adhesive strips to repair quantum technology that maintains the existence of our entire species?" "Not exactly," Nadia replied, already unrolling the tape. "But this is part of it. What I'm about to do is either going to save your civilization or get me banned from this sector of space forever." She paused, considering. Possibly both. As she began to explain her plan, the Luminarii's horror gradually transformed into fascination, and then, surprisingly, into something that looked almost like hope. "Think of it like a guitar string," Nadia explained, standing before the assembled Luminarii Council in their grand chamber of light. She had commandeered one of their holographic displays to show a simplified version of her solution. "When it vibrates, it creates harmonics. Add more strings, and you get more complex harmonics. But what happens when those harmonics start interfering with each other?" "Dissonance," answered Deep Resonator Prism, her crystalline form shimmering with interest despite her obvious skepticism. "Exactly. Your quantum stabilization system started as a single, pure frequency. But every addition, every improvement, every quantum algorithm you've added is like adding more strings, all vibrating at different frequencies. The system isn't failing, it's drowning in its own complexity." First Resonator Vale moved forward, their form noticeably less stable than when Nadia had first arrived. "We understand the problem, Dr. Patel. But how does this primitive adhesive material factor into your solution?" Nadia held up the roll of duct tape. This is just the beginning. What we really need is to think like engineers from Earth's 21st century. Back then, we couldn't rely on quantum computing or AI to solve every problem. We had to work with physical solutions. She pulled up more diagrams on the holographic display. "Your entire civilization is essentially running on quantum vibrations. These vibrations have physical anchor points, your crystalline structures. Instead of trying to correct the quantum harmonics directly, we need to dampen the physical vibrations at their source." "That's absurdly primitive," one of the council members observed. "Primitive doesn't mean wrong," Nadia countered. "Iris, show them simulation alpha." The AI projected a complex model showing the Luminarii's quantum network. Dr. Patel's solution involves creating physical dampeners at key nodes throughout your quantum grid. By stabilizing the physical anchor points, we can reduce the quantum interference without adding more complexity to the system. Nadia walked through the hologram, pointing out specific nodes. We'll use a combination of materials I brought from the station, high-density polymers, sonic dampeners, and yes, even some duct tape. The key is to create a stable physical foundation for your quantum field. The council chamber erupted in worried murmurs. First Resonator Vale raised their crystalline appendage for silence. Dr. Patel, what you're suggesting goes against millennia of our technological development. We evolved beyond physical solutions precisely because they were inefficient. With respect, Nadia replied, your evolution beyond physical form has made you forget something crucial, the quantum realm is still anchored in physical reality. You can't escape the basic laws of physics, no matter how advanced you become. She moved to the central display, bringing up readings from her diagnostic scanner. Look at these patterns. Your quantum field isn't just losing stability, it's trying to find it. Every time you add a new quantum algorithm, the field shifts slightly back toward its original, simpler state before being forced into a more complex pattern. Iris's holographic form expanded to show more detailed analytics. The doctor's observations are correct. The quantum field shows a natural resonance pattern that aligns with simpler harmonics. Current destabilization appears to be the result of forced complexity overwhelming these natural patterns. Nadia turned to face the council directly. Your civilization achieved something amazing, you transcended physical form. But in doing so, you forgot that even energy needs a stable foundation. What I'm proposing isn't a step backward, it's a recognition that sometimes the most advanced solution is the one that respects fundamental principles. She pulled out her tablet, showing a three-dimensional model of her proposed solution. We'll start with one node. A simple test. If it works, we can implement the solution across your entire network. If it fails, she shrugged, well, at least we'll fail without adding another layer of quantum complexity to the problem. The council members conferred among themselves, their crystalline forms creating intricate patterns of light as they communicated. Finally, First Resonator Vale moved forward. Your proposal is unprecedented, they stated. To return to physical solutions after eons of quantum advancement. They paused, their form flickering dangerously. But we are running out of options. The degradation accelerates. We will allow you to attempt your solution on a single node. Nadia was already gathering her tools. That's all I need. Iris, prepare the materials we discussed. And yes, she added, seeing the AI's holographic form pulse with what might have been amusement, bring the duct tape. As she followed First Resonator Vale to the test site, Nadia couldn't help but smile at the irony. Here was one of the most advanced civilizations in known space, about to be potentially saved by materials that hadn't changed much since the Industrial Revolution. Doctor, Iris commented privately through her earpiece, I calculate the probability of success at approximately 31.7%. You said there was a 73% chance this mission would end in a diplomatic incident, Nadia whispered back. Let's hope we hit both probabilities, save their civilization and create a diplomatic incident. That would make for a great story back at the station. She looked up at the quantum node they were approaching, a massive crystalline structure pulsing with unstable energy. It was time to prove that sometimes the best way forward was to take a step back and remember the basics. All right, she announced, pulling on her work gloves, let's get physical. The quantum node loomed before Nadia like a crystalline mountain, its surface crackling with unstable energy. She had laid out her tools, a curious mix of advanced engineering equipment and stubbornly practical items that made the luminary observers shimmer with what might have been disapproval. Beginning physical modification of Node 7 Alpha, she announced, both for the record and for the increasingly nervous council members watching. Iris, monitor quantum fluctuations and give me a baseline reading. Baseline established, Doctor. Current stability at 47% and declining. Nadia began applying the first layer of her solution, a network of high-density polymer strips infused with quantum-dampening materials. The strips looked deceptively simple, but each one had been carefully calculated to resonate at exactly the right frequency. This is like acupuncture for your quantum field, she explained as she worked. We're not trying to force stability, we're helping your system find its natural balance. As she applied each layer, Iris called out readings. The numbers initially jumped erratically, causing concerned murmurs from the observers. But gradually, almost imperceptibly, a pattern emerged. Stability at 48%. 52%. 55%, Iris reported. The quantum field is beginning to align with the dampening frequency. Nadia reached the most crucial, and controversial, part of her solution. She pulled out a roll of duct tape, modified with her own special additions. This isn't just any tape, she explained to the horrified council members. I've infused it with nanoscale resonators. It's crude, but it's exactly what we need, a physical anchor that can adapt to quantum fluctuations. As she applied the final layers, something remarkable happened. The node's erratic pulsing began to smooth out, its light becoming steady and clear. The readings on her scanner stabilized. Quantum stability at 89% and holding, Iris announced. Field harmonics returning to baseline patterns. First resonator veil moved forward, their form noticeably steadier in the node's proximity. This is unprecedented. The node's quantum signature is clearer than it has been in decades. Sometimes the best solution is the simplest one, Nadia replied, wiping sweat from her forehead. We can implement this across your entire network. It won't be quick, and it won't be elegant, but it will work. The council members conferred briefly before reaching a decision. Begin full implementation immediately, Vail ordered. Allocate all available resources to Dr. Patel's project. What followed was 3 weeks of intensive work. Nadia trained teams of luminarii technicians in the art of physical engineering, teaching beings of pure energy how to work with their hands again. The sight of crystalline entities carefully applying duct tape to quantum nodes would have been comical if the stakes weren't so high. Legacy of simplicity. 6 months later, Nadia stood in the council chamber one last time. The transformation was remarkable, the once unstable quantum field now hummed with perfect harmony, each node reinforced with her hybrid solution of advanced technology and practical engineering. The stabilization is complete, she reported to the assembled council. Your quantum field is now operating at 97% efficiency, with a projected stability timeline of at least 5 centuries. First resonator veil, their form now perfectly stable, moved forward. Dr. Patel, you have done more than save our civilization. You have taught us a valuable lesson about the danger of complexity for complexity's sake. We had become so focused on advancement that we forgot the fundamental principles that made our evolution possible, Deep Resonator Prism added. Your solution has inspired a new philosophy among our people, one that values elegance and simplicity alongside sophistication. Nadia smiled, packing up her remaining tools. Just remember, sometimes the most advanced solution is knowing when to take a step back and fix the foundations. The council had one final surprise. They presented her with a crystal, unlike any she had seen before. We have created this in your honor, Vail explained. It contains the complete history of your solution, encoded in quantum patterns. Future generations will study what you have taught us about the value of practical wisdom. As Nadia prepared to board her shuttle, Iris projected their holographic form beside her. Doctor, I must admit my initial probability calculations were significantly off. Are you actually admitting you were wrong? Nadia teased, securing her toolbox. I'm admitting that human ingenuity remains a variable that defies precise quantification, Iris replied diplomatically. Though I still maintain that using duct tape on quantum technology should not have worked. That's the beauty of engineering, Iris, Nadia laughed, taking one last look at the now stable crystalline world behind her. Sometimes the best solutions are the ones that shouldn't work, until they do. Back on her shuttle, as the luminarii homeworld shrank to a brilliant point of light behind her, Nadia pulled out her tablet to begin her report. She paused, smiling as she typed the title. On the application of practical engineering principles to advanced quantum systems, a study in elegant simplicity, or, how duct tape saved an ancient civilization. Her coffee machine, still temperamental as ever, produced a perfect cup for the first time in months. Some problems, it seemed, just needed the right combination of advanced theory and practical solutions. As she sipped her coffee and watched the stars streak by, Nadia couldn't help but wonder what other advanced civilizations out there might need a reminder that sometimes, the simplest solution was the best one. The end.